There's a moment most of us never see coming the last time we speak to someone we love, and we have absolutely no idea it's the last time. No dramatic music, no slow motion goodbye, just a casual talk to you later that never gets its later. My grandfather called me on a Tuesday afternoon in the fall of 2011, and I let it go to voicemail because I was busy watching a football game I can't even remember the score of. He died of a heart attack that Thursday, and that voicemail, his voice just asking how I was doing, became the most painful audio file I've ever had to listen to. Grief counselors will tell you that complicated grief spikes dramatically when a death is sudden or when there's unfinished relational business left on the table. We're talking about a condition that affects roughly 7% of bereaved people so severely it resembles post-traumatic stress disorder, and unresolved goodbyes are one of the biggest triggers. The reason this hits so hard comes down to something psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains are wired to obsessively replay incomplete tasks far more than completed ones. An unsaid goodbye is an open loop that your mind keeps desperately trying to close, sometimes for years, sometimes forever. Think of closure like a file you're trying to save on a computer that keeps crashing until that file saves. Your entire operating system stays stuck in a loop, draining energy from everything else. The cruel irony is that the person who could have helped you close the file is gone, and now you have to find a completely different way to save it. What's fascinating and genuinely heartbreaking is how confident we are in the abundance of time. Author Tim Kreider once wrote that we are all terminal cases, and yet we spend our days behaving like we're immortal, perpetually deferring the conversations that matter most. I had a friend, Dana, who hadn't spoken to her estranged father in 4 years over a dispute so old she barely remembered what started it. He died before she ever made the call she'd been planning to make eventually, and she described the experience as grieving two losses at once, the father she had and the relationship she never got to repair. The misconception people carry is that closure requires the other person, that without a final conversation, peace is simply unavailable to you. That's not true, and it's actually one of the most paralyzing myths in all of grief work. Therapists who specialize in bereavement consistently point to practices like writing an unsent letter, performing a symbolic ritual, or engaging in empty chair therapy as genuinely effective tools for processing unresolved goodbyes. The grief doesn't disappear, but it transforms from an open wound into something you can carry with intention rather than something that carries you. For Dana, the turning point came when she wrote her father a 40-page letter she burned in her backyard. Every resentment, every wish, every apology turned to ash in about 12 minutes. She said it felt absurd and theatrical, and also like putting down something incredibly heavy she hadn't realized she'd been holding. History is full of people who built entire artistic careers out of unprocessed goodbye, CS. Lewis wrote A Grief Observed after losing his wife. Joan Didion wrote The Year of Magical Thinking after losing her husband, both of them essentially turning unfinished conversations into literature. What's remarkable is that the act of articulating the loss, even to no one in particular, seems to be a core part of how human beings metabolize it. The practical lesson here is deceptively simple. Treat your relationships like positions in a portfolio where you'd never want to be caught fully exposed with no exit strategy. That means having the conversations you've been avoiding, making the calls you keep postponing, and understanding that we'll talk soon is a promise you have absolutely no guarantee of being able to keep. Don't wait for a crisis to make the important people in your life feel important. That's the equivalent of buying insurance after your house is already burned down. The call costs you 3 minutes. The regret of not making it can cost you decades. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody puts on a motivational poster. Sometimes the relationship is difficult, the person is complicated, and the goodbye would have been hard even if you'd had the chance. Closure isn't always warm. Sometimes it's just honest, and honest is still infinitely better than silent. The goal isn't to live in constant morbid awareness that every conversation could be your last, because that's exhausting and a little unhinged. The goal is to leave fewer open loops, to be the kind of person who says the thing, makes the call, and doesn't let later do all the emotional heavy lifting. There's something quietly radical about accepting that you will not always get the ending you deserved, the apology that was owed to you, or the final moment of peace you imagined. Discipline here looks like building your own closure anyway, not because it's fair, but because you are the only one still here who can do it. If you like what we're doing here, hit subscribe and go check out all our other topics.